We are so grateful to be supported by sponsors like our friends at Plaintext Capital. You know, investing in Web3 and cryptocurrencies isn't about jumping on the latest trends. It's about understanding where the market is headed and why. Plaintext Capital is a digital asset investment firm focused on long-term strategies backed by deep research, backing the best Web3 companies and protocols, and investing in the newest asset classes of the future. They believe that Web3 crypto will drive digital innovation for decades to come, creating significant value for investors. In fact, their team of highly skilled professionals work with institutions and serious individual investors who want clarity in a space full of hype and noise. So if you're looking to cut through the chaos and invest with purpose, Plaintext Capital brings a disciplined, high-conviction approach to investing. You can learn more and meet the team at plaintextcapital.com.
We are so grateful to be supported by these community champions: Sales MD, Team Friday, Realist Lab, Kyiana Patterson, Diego Chavez, Jer Boucher, Heather Ryder, Janine Sua, Lily Roca, and Steve Kernan.
Hey, welcome back to, if you're just hanging out with me for the first time on a Friday afternoon, or if you have been a regular hanging out here as I share my thoughts, kind of recapping the week and recapping our most recent episode, some of the lessons, takeaways, things that I've been thinking about. This is what we do in our stoppage time on Fridays here before we get into our weekend. If you don't know, Stoppage Time is a little bit of an homage to my love for football, aka soccer here in the United States, and that little bit of extra time between the end of regulation time and when the referee actually blows their whistle, because that's when all the craziness and excitement and madness happens in any match. So we are glorifying that in our gatherings here every Friday afternoon. So I've had a lot on my mind this past week, across, frankly, just a bunch of topics. Couple of serious ones and some not so serious ones. To start out, obviously, as an American living here in the US right now, in this particular week, and then here in Los Angeles in Southern California, the betrayal of our United States Supreme Court's ruling earlier this week, on the temporary orders which prevented race-based detention by federal immigration agencies as they execute their raids across Southern California and across the country. But there was a particular lower court judge's ruling which had held off the ability of the government, and frankly ruled it unconstitutional, the ability of the federal government agencies to essentially profile people simply based on the color of their skin or the accent with which they speak English, or the lack of English that they might speak, or where they happen to be standing. And obviously that is just anathema to everything that the country stands for at our best. But the Supreme Court came in this week, and it's a Supreme Court that very much allies with the current president and the federal administration's kind of rigid alt-right conservative ideology. And they put a halt on that temporary order and said, like, we're going to let arguments in the case continue. But in the meantime, the federal government can go back to basically just racially profiling people for potential immigration detention. And I could talk about that all day. I could make this entire stoppage time about that. I'm not going to do that because that isn't the only thing that I was thinking about this week. But honestly, there's not much more to say. Like, I say in life, sometimes there are things that are super nuanced or super gray and need to be explored more deeply, need to be discussed more endlessly and debated. And then there are things like this ruling that are just so blatantly wrong, in my opinion, and out of step with the intention of our country, that I just simply kind of let it be known what my feelings are in all the different public forums that I'm a part of. I make it very clear how wrongheaded I believe it is, make it very clear how important immigration is to the fabric of our country and always has been. And then I just choose to, instead of endlessly debating it publicly, I just choose to use the platforms like our show, Entrepreneurial Thinkers, every week to just amplify the voices of the leaders who show us the way forward at our best. And that's the most important work that I think I can do. So I've thought about that a lot. I thought about a lot about obviously political violence in our country. And that's just honestly just down to our addiction to guns. I'm not a gun owner, never have been a gun owner. I have gun owners in my family. But yeah, I mean, I'd love to say we were better than this, but we're not, clearly. Like, we are exactly what we are. What I can say, though, with 100% certainty is that we know better than this, but we choose what we choose. So we're choosing to basically just not set aside our ideologies in favor of common sense. And that holds us back at every turn lately, including this realm of gun violence and political violence, which is just unacceptable solution to anything. I was also thinking about kind of on the lighter side of life. I was also thinking about the WNBA this week as the, excuse me, as our LA Sparks were in a playoff fight and came up just one game short of making the playoffs. I'm super excited to see them play next season. I was thinking about the NWSL and my beloved Angel City club here in town, where we lost our young star in a very highly publicized transfer to English club Chelsea. Boo, we hate Chelsea. I'm a Liverpool fan in English football, so not a Chelsea fan. She captured the largest transfer, or the club captured the largest transfer fee in the history of American women's soccer. And I'm sure she'll do great, and I'll root for her in the context of the national team. But my focus and energy is here in Angel City. And so I'm excited to see what we're going to continue to build under our new coach and going forward. I was thinking a lot about our business, the business of Storytellers Company, both the shows we produce for you all and how to best grow them and how to adapt them and how to kind of evolve them in 2026 as we get into next year. But I was also thinking about the Storytellers Company side, the production side of our business, the studio side of our business, and these first two shows that are inching closer to being released here soon, end of September, early October, episodes that we will create or helping create for client partners to tell their stories to their communities. And one I'll be more deeply involved in than the other, but super excited about both. And obviously they're a big milestone for us as a company, and excited to offer those services and our talents and capabilities and vision for storytelling to brands and businesses more and more as we get into the end of the year. So, but amidst all that, my mind mostly just keeps wandering back and forth around this ever-present topic of AI. And I teased that in the title of this week's show, but right, whether it's AI is going to deliver us kind of the fabled 1960s cartoon life of the space family, the Jetsons.
See you tomorrow, same time, same sandbox.
Or whether it's going to deliver us to the end of humanity, as in the 1980s movie, The Terminator.
I'll be back.
I've actually asked that kind of playful yet serious subtextual question a handful of times in recent recordings for future episodes of Entrepreneurial Thinkers, just to open it up and let people help us explore where it's going. I'm no expert in artificial intelligence, not even remotely, or all the use cases that are possible with it, nor do I render any particular thought leaders that are out there nowadays in these early days to be experts in what it'll deliver to humanity over time. But I do hold a few very strong beliefs around it. I believe at the end of the day, when we look back 30, 50 years from now, AI will have proven to be a net additive to humans and human capabilities, not a replacement. And I also know very certainly that some corporate leaders are going to use it in the worst ways. And they're going to use it in ways without thought towards the consequences. And as with any other technology that can be commercialized and monopolized, it's going to be utilized to squeeze out costs and reduce employment and capture corporate or personal profits. And there will be people who will inevitably do that. And as such, we will see lots of company growth, but we won't necessarily see the accompanying job growth that usually goes with kind of a booming new sector in our economy. And that's going to leave us horribly exposed as a society, as societies all around the world, as economies all around the world. And I frankly just don't trust that those with their hands on the corporate profit margin decisions, that they're going to be planning ahead on how to best balance these human losses and these changes to our communities with their corporate gains. So I implore us, and I'm using this as kind of a platform to encourage all, like, we better be thinking about this. The elected officials, the people that we put in office to represent us, better be planning for it. And where we can, we better use all the powers that we have to amplify the voices and the ideas of those leaders and builders in these AI spaces who maybe see a larger responsibility to society when developing their products and their platforms. And that brings me to the last point, which is this week's Entrepreneurial Thinkers episode, where I got the pleasure to sit down with a longtime friend who I've collaborated with before, and we've kind of had fractions of this discussion previously. But she's a dynamic entrepreneur from Los Angeles, living and working out of the Bay Area, Kyiana Williams. She's working in AI across two different, vastly different, but massively important industries in our economy, which is the entertainment industry, really important to us here in Los Angeles, but important around the world, as well as the world of civic technology and citizen engagement. And she's doing this as the CEO of two different companies that she runs, one called e.e.r.s, E.e.r.s, and one called Entertwine. And our conversation in this week's episode and previously really reminded me and encourages me that there are bright, good people out there that are building AI with the intention and great awareness of its powers to do good and bad implications of it if it's misused or misapplied. She's using AI in the entertainment industry field to help creative folks to connect more predictably with job and project opportunities. And then she and her team discovered some underlying AI technology inside of that platform, which they then saw a massive opportunity to deploy in the pursuit of making ways in which our governments interact with us and provide service to us as citizens, both in daily use and daily life, as well as in the case of like emergency crises. She was inspired by an emergency crises, kind of to tell the not all of the story. I'll leave the rest of the story for you to discover on your own on this episode of Entrepreneurial Thinkers. But in it, kind of, we had our devastatingly historic wildfires here in LA back in January 2025, and her grandparents, one set of her grandparents' neighborhood was affected and their home was lost. And it was in those moments, in those experiences, that she started to think like, holy cow, wait a minute, I think we could apply how we've been using this AI technology at kind of a root level in this tool that we're building for the entertainment industry. I think we could apply it over here in civic emergency response and citizen service and citizen engagement. So she's doing that with both these companies. We explored these applications. We explored her team's realizations, the positive reactions from both her customers and her communities. But we also talked about this bigger conundrum that I pose here, which is like, where is AI taking us as humankind? Will we predominantly use it to improve and expand the human experience as she is, or will we run amok with it and essentially just commercialize it and monetize it for the gain of a few individuals? And she has some very strong opinions and perspectives on that from the work that she's doing. And frankly, amplifying her kind of fresher, longer term view is really, really important to this debate long term. I've been around long enough, honestly, to see the growth of computing, the birth of personal computer, the dawn of software, the launch of the public internet, and the rise of automation, and now AI, literally all in my lifetime, most of it just in my adult lifetime. And each time there's always been a natural level of displacement or disruption that occurs. And in that transition, unfortunately, there are generations of workers who are lost forward progress that we never recover, that we never help transition forward. They kind of fall through the cracks, right? But importantly, each time these advancements, these births of new industries have simultaneously led to massive new employment, categories of jobs and skills that were needed. And overall, then the kind of human race advanced and economies grew. But as another past alum of our show, Joshua Ogundu, here in LA, wrote about recently on LinkedIn, right? There's a growing reality now in this AI powered era that we're actually starting to see already, where corporate and industrial growth is coming without associated job creation. Data centers being built to effectively run themselves, or dark warehouses being designed to essentially be operated by skeleton crews of like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 employees on 24-hour cycles, where maybe there used to be hundreds or a few thousand people that would operate these facilities. And as Josh well warns us, which is very prescient for the young guy that he is, if economic growth and corporate success come without providing any jobs to people anymore, then we're going to have one hell of a serious reckoning to face as society pretty soon. And that's where we get back to this, like, who's making the decisions about how we deploy and employ and utilize these things? Who's doing the thinking about the consequences of our choices? It's not to say that all use of AI is bad or all of it is good. Of course, that's neither is true, right? But it's just who is thinking about the consequences of the choices that we will make at a commercial and industrial level as it affects us as society, right? So I kind of end the week now with you where I began it, which is with as much uncertainty about where AI is going to deliver us as answers, right? Are we going to get to the Jetsons, improved quality of life and opportunity? Are we going to get to the Terminator, where humankind is essentially fighting for our own survival of extinction? And I don't have answers. But what I do know is that if I keep platforming the best and brightest people that I can find, who are themselves obsessively thinking about these situations within their industries and areas of expertise every day, and I talk to them each week on our show, Entrepreneurial Thinkers, that maybe, just maybe, we'll come to some answers and decisions together, and maybe we'll wind up leaving this world that we inherited slightly better off than worse off when we leave. At the end of the day, our friend Kyiana Williams reminded us, like, it's we, the people, that really do have the power to decide how we want to use or not use these technologies. It ultimately is up to us to hold this power and to use it in the decisions we make, in the people that we elect, in how we interact with our society as a whole, and how we interact with business and industry. We didn't do this the last time around, most recent last time around, say, with the internet. We kind of just said, like, we'll trust those 8 or 10 or 12 corporations and their leaders who keep telling us that the internet's going to be awesome. It's just going to connect us all. We're all going to be like loving, kind, generous people with each other, no matter where we come from, what we look like. It's going to be the great unifying experience. And now we know in 2025 that is 1,000% not how it's worked out, right? So we have an opportunity facing us to essentially kind of think differently, maybe think more entrepreneurially as individual citizens about these technologies that we are now deploying and we're using. And in that, I hope I'm encouraging us just as much as I'm thinking about it myself in the mirror every day, that we think responsibly about this and that we think about the broader implications. Because as Josh warns us, we're at a bit of a tipping point. And that's not to be all hyperbolic, but we are at a bit of a historic tipping point, as we have been many, many times over the course of the hundreds of years that have preceded us. But it's what we do in those moments of tipping points that help us determine kind of what the next era of our lives are going to be like, or more importantly for me, the lives of my children, my daughter, my grandchildren, all that stuff, right? So that's it. Happy Friday. That's my thoughts for the week. There's a lot going on right now as we roll through September. Happy weekend. I wish you all love and peace and joy. And this week, maybe I wish you all also a little bit of patience and perspective necessary to contemplate how we feel about this AI era, how you feel about this era that we're in right now, so that we can make these types of thoughtful decisions going forward about our future, not just hand it over to the technologist and the technology companies. So, peace.
We are so grateful to be supported by sponsors like our friends at e.e.r.s. You know, running any business, but especially a law firm, means balancing a lot. And technology, frankly, shouldn't be a headache. e.e.r.s. makes information technology and cybersecurity simple for law firms large or small. With over 20 years of experience, they specialize in everything from Microsoft 365 management to advanced cybersecurity solutions. They help you to stay ahead of threats, manage your data securely, and keep your tech running smoothly so that you can focus on what matters most, your clients. e.e.r.s. understands the legal industry's unique needs, offering tailored solutions to ensure that your firm is always in compliance and always protected. Are you ready to upgrade your firm's technology or get help with your questions? Visit e.e.r.s.com.